The skills for Philip II were just announced, and he looks absolutely game-changing. He's a leadership, versatility, and support commander. I just rolled out of bed, and I gotta react to the absolutely insane kit this guy's got, because I've been saying for years that, like, the game has sent us in a leadership direction. Assuredly, they'll reward us for going in that direction. And here we are, baby. Whether you've made the leadership equipment or you've just invested in leadership open field commanders, here it is. So what does it do? The commander skills, the active skill, 1,000 rage requirement, the Macedonian phalanx. For the next 2 seconds, up to 5 nearby allied or friendly troops, including this commander. So that means it's going to be this commander and 4 others, prioritizing your troops first, then your allies. Take 10% less damage and deal 20% more damage. That is a 30% boost in total of all damagey stuff. I know it's damage taken and damage dealt, but like, wow. The effects of this skill are multiplied by 2 for this commander's troop. So for this troop, okay, and it will always land on this troop as the priority, then 4 other places. You're taking 20% less damage and dealing 40% more damage for the next 2 seconds. That is punchy. So for this to be valuable, you really need your active skills to be landing when this is happening. It's the only way it's valuable, right? It's the only way it's valuable is if big damage lands while you have the damage buff. I mean, boosting your normal attacks while you're generating rage is like fine, but it's not big skill damage. That's where this pops off, okay? From here, while this commander's troop is on the map, not in a resource node, not in a fort or a flag or a pass, not in a city, on the map, cavalry get 35% attack. Infantry get 35% defense. Archers get 35% health. And just in general, their troop gets 20% more march speed. Okay, that's amazing. This skill does really power up a lot, by the way, by having more skill points into it. So if you're not going to max this commander, which I think you need to, you'll see why in a minute, you definitely need to max this skill. Okay, some skills, they get most of their punch just by unlocking it, not this one. The next skill, League of Corinth. This commander's troop, if it contains at least 2 different troop types, gains 15% march speed and takes 15% less damage. Not bad, but even better is if you mono troop. Their troop contains only 1 unit type, deal 30% more damage. What? 30%? Bro, do you remember Hannibal Barca? You got to have 3 troop types to get like 10% damage. Here, they're like, don't bother. Just show up with whatever you want and you get 30% more damage. Okay, let's go. Yeah, this is really hype. What can we even say here? All units are one of 4 types: infantry, archers, cavalry, or siege. Unit tiers do not count. So you can't go T1, T2 to get the boost here. I mean, I just think I would always go for the damage. Just mono troop it. So you can run this guy mono troop as the secondary. I don't think that's like necessarily as ideal, but it's pretty legit. Primary will be better. But if we look, what else do we got? Okay, next skill is the 4th skill. Whenever this commander's troop launches a basic attack, it has a 10% chance to deal direct damage to up to 3 enemy troops. Damage factor 800 for every additional target. Reduce the damage to each target by 15%. And reduce the rage by 100. Cooldown of 3 seconds. He's got instant proc AoE damage with a rage redux. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Trajan 2.0. Okay, the final skill, the expertise. Whenever their commander uses an active skill, they have a 40% chance to use their active skill a second time. Whenever the other commander in their troop uses their active skill, they have a 20% chance to use their active skill a second time. This skill can only trigger once every 7 seconds. Okay. So does that mean, I guess that means that if your commander, Philip, uses his skill again, then maybe the second part of this doesn't happen, can't happen because it's on cooldown for 7 seconds. I assume that's what it means. And if you fail this check, the 40% check, but land the 20% check for your other commander to go again, then I guess that puts it on cooldown for 7 seconds. We're going to see exactly how this works. But this commander looks insane. He looks so cool. What is there to say here? I mean, you can use him as the primary, and that is obviously the better play here if you've got the leadership gear. And do I think it's appropriate to be releasing commanders that reward investment in leadership? Obviously, I do. Obviously, I do. The game design has sent us in a leadership direction for years. It took a long detour in the form of garrison commanders, but like up to that point, it was always open field. And like, here we are, you can use it in the open field. I think that is a huge win. Trajan is still meta in Canyon. Like, what are we talking about? But will he still be meta after this? So if you use him as the primary, your objective here, first of all, is to try to put a lot of rage onto him, I think, so that you can get him to use his active skill before all the other commanders around you, your commanders, use their active skills. You want them to have that 20% damage boost for their active skills. You also want them to take less damage from enemies who, if they engage in combat at the same time as you, would also be about to fire off their active skills, especially because there is a chance he'll fire again. So you really want to rage this guy up so that in a best case, you go too soon, but you even activate all over again. So the way that would work, I think, is you use your active skill, and we know this from Khan, we know this from Joan Prime. Between active skills, there's always 1 second of downtime, even for skills that get a reactivation. So the way this would work is you'd get Macedonian Phalanx, there'd be a second of downtime, and that would be the first second in which you start to get this buff. On the next second, you still have this buff running, but you use Macedonian Phalanx all over again if the expertise triggers, okay? Which means on the next turn, turn 3, you're on your first second of round 2 of the buff, and turn 4, okay, you'd be on your second of round 2 on the bus, and your secondary commander would then use their active skill. You are delaying when your secondary commander uses their active skill for whatever that's worth, but upon using this active skill, your rage bar should drop back down and start to recuperate again, so your cycles probably aren't slowed. I think people's instinct on a commander like this is going to be like, oh, well, if one commander fires their active skill all over again, pair them with another one that uses their active skill all over again, and that's got to be amazing. But I don't think that's actually the case. Pairing with like Joan, I think, is probably not the play. But I think there are some commanders that are going to be really good. Before I talk about that, let me just clarify. The reason I don't think you want to use Joan is at that point, you actually are going to slow your activation possibilities for your primary commander. So I think that's no good. Your whole rage cycle starts to slow down if this skill activates, second of downtime, this skill activates again, then the secondary commander's active skill fires, second of downtime, then that skill triggers again. Like, then you have to have another second of downtime. Like, you actually could be delaying your active skill cycle. You very most likely are delaying your active skill cycle in that situation. Okay, so let's jump in game. We got to talk about pairs here. And there are some choices that I think are pretty obvious. Like, for example, Ashurbanipal. Let me show you. So the reason I'm suggesting Ashurbanipal could be an absolutely insane combo is that if you get a look here, well, wait a minute. Hold up. Whenever this commander's troop uses an active skill, you get a buff for 4 seconds. Free activations of active skills is amazing. It's known that when you're in a KVK where you can use an artifact and switch a commander's troop type, that pairing Joan with Ashurbanipal is really cool. Well, this commander, Philip as the primary, Ashurbanipal as the secondary, could be really, really good. I mean, you buff your damage dealt and then hit a bunch of targets, and thank you for playing, take another buff with it. That's the kind of synergy I think we're looking for here when we go for this pairing. I do think, strangely, what about Herman Prime? Technically, he reuses his active skill, right? Whenever this commander's troop inflicts 25 stacks of poison, it triggers Forest of the Fallen at level 5. Forest of the Fallen Eagles at level 5. So the thing is, I don't think you want to split Zhuge Liang and Hermann Prime, right? Like that's insane. So like, are we already talking about a replacement for Shajar? She just got here. Maybe you should pair with Shajar. What is she doing? I mean, this is a pairing that could work, right? You use the leadership commander as the primary, and then like, I don't know, you're doing this true damage stuff and buffing already and healing on this march as the secondary. Doesn't seem terrible to me, right? Like, I think that could work if you're a leadership player. If you've got leadership gear, you get so rewarded here. One more instance of this, for example, if you're using, and by the way, Ashurbanipal could be the primary, okay? And you could use Philip as the secondary. I think it is pretty unlikely that you will have the damage dealt and taken buff active, however, when your skill cycle comes around for Ashurbanipal to use his active skill again, even if Philip were to get that extra activation, right? I mean, it's possible that like you have Ashurbanipal uses active as the primary, second of downtime, then Philip goes, second of downtime, Philip triggers again, second of downtime, like maybe, but I think you'd have to have a crazy fast rage cycle to pull that off. Maybe. I don't know. That's the archers. I think those are your sort of best bets. I could look a little more closely, but I think we need to go look at the other troop types here. And if we get a look at infantry, okay? Oh boy, the infantry. So first of all, there's no reason you couldn't have them in arch formation, right? You totally could do that. So like, this is insane. I mean, Liu Che is good with everybody, but you could use him with the new commander. Put your arch stuff on there, and like, that would work, right? I don't think you would use him with Guan, because Guan wants to be the primary. I mean, you could use him as the secondary. Maybe it's what he needed, but I don't think so. I don't think the best spot, you can use him as the secondary, Philip, but I don't think that's really like his best spot. I don't think that's it. And, you know, we'll get to Trajan in a minute because I think that's super relevant. But what I think is more relevant is like Skippy. I think it'd be a good pairing there. Skippy is the secondary, right? I've used Trajan and Skippy together. Skippy elevates just about anybody, but I think that pairing works. The only weirdness of using Skippy as the secondary is you'd really like for this debuff to land before you use your round of active skills on your target. Ideally, right? The health debuff's really nice. 2 rage reductions are better than 1. Tariq ibn Ziyad could be the secondary, and you've got a second rage reduction on there. Whew. I mean, you just absolutely savage your main target. That said, whatever you're swarming in a murder ball, you kind of like don't care about the rage on that one target. It's dead anyways within seconds. So, kind of debatable. I don't think there's anything here that would revive Sargon for what it's worth. So I don't think that's it. No, I mean, I feel like perhaps one of the best pairing options would actually be with Ragnar, right? You use Philip as the primary, and Ragnar firing off what is arguably the strongest active skill in the game all over again, with his final form being 2,200 damage factor to 3 targets, and each of those targets takes 300 damage per second for 2 seconds. That's gross. That's like exactly where you want to be, isn't it? And if you use the support tree, you can generate a lot of rage, which you would be if you're using Philip as the primary, right? I can show you the talents in just a minute here. We have leadership support that already exists. So I think this could be a very, very strong pairing for Ragnar. And then you can go back to using Guan and Skippy together, assuming that you've got a leadership march, okay, to go and run. And like, how critical is this guy going to be? Well, let's talk about the cavalry first here. I think for infantry, by the way, summarizing, Ragnar would be an interesting pairing. Liu Che, you've got great pairings for him already, but I am really eager to see how that would go if they pair together. I guess he does have some skill damage, right? On your leadership commander with the AoE skill damage, but it's not that much. And then, even William Wallace theoretically could be a pairing. I mean, I don't love, like the single target damage pairing. I'd rather have like fat AoE sitting behind the Philip so that you buff your damage and then you just hit a ton of stuff. That would be my ideal. Like, you want big skill damage hiding behind that, in my opinion. All right. And I think you want the Philip to be the primary, ideally, to crank that big damage, which is making a big assumption, I suppose. The big assumption I'm making is the order of the active skills, and that you'd have Philip fire his active skill twice in a row before the secondary commander uses their active skill. I suppose it is possible that, like, you'd have the primary use their active skill, then the secondary uses their active skill, and then Philip would go again. Is that how that would go? Whatever. I don't think so, but we'll have to see once it gets here. You never know. And then lastly, the cavalry. So how are we pairing? Like I said, I think he really ought to be the primary. So I don't think there's crazy stuff you can do with Huo being the primary. I mean, well, yeah, I mean, he's kind of boosting skill damage. I don't know that that's it. He's doing a big skill damage boost. I don't think you want to pair with him. But, like, if you did, and you used this new commander as the secondary Philip, wouldn't that make it so that you'd be guaranteed to, like, potentially have their stuff fire so early that, like, he buffs the team? Maybe, because you reduce your rage requirement. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think so, though. I don't think that's where it's at. I think that's kind of a wild goose chase. I don't think Joan is the pairing, because as I was describing, I think there's a huge anti-synergy with having that many active skills firing all over again. I do think, however, I mean, this can only happen once every 10 seconds that you fire your active skill all over again. I don't know if you can create some weird chain of re-triggering of skills, but I don't think so. And, like, you could pair with Nevsky, but I don't think that's, like, really... I don't think we found particularly strong synergies. And I don't think this brings XY back from the grave, by the way. I mean, you would get your skills to fire really fast with the 900 rage requirement and the 50 rage reduction. So it goes down to, like, 850, right? But he's got to be the primary for that to be a thing. Maybe. And if you're already invested in leadership, okay, and you've got Trajan, and you've got gear set up for him, I don't think Trajan plus Philip is a pair, believe it or not. I actually don't think that's it. I don't think you want a march running around and its sole purpose is just buffing, and that's pretty much it. Like, actually just buffing. It could be. It is possible that is the way to run it. That you use Trajan as the primary, and, like, you use Philip as the secondary, and you can use mixed troops. And what happens there is that you just buff the ever-living heck out of all your other marches, in which case you'd want to use that combo of Trajan Philip as, like, the 6th or 7th march only. Because, like, once your marches start to die off, like, yeah, I mean, you're so lovely that you're buffing all your allies, but, like, buffs and debuffs don't scale up with your crystal technology or your, armaments or your equipment. So I don't know. But if you did that, just hypothetically, okay, there'd be a chance that this active skill would get fired all over again. And as cool as that would be, I feel like that's not really where it's at. So the way that would work is Trajan would use his active skill. There'd be a second of downtime. And, like, if you had the cooldown for it and it triggered, there was a 20% chance you get this to go all over again. You'd have the skill fire again, and you'd sort of lose, like, 1 second of value from the buff he's already given. I mean, the rage boost is nice. The skill damage boost is nice. But I think the game is very obviously moving away from the direction of dealing more skill damage anyways. Like we've got Arch, we've got healing archers. I think this is intended to be sort of Trajan 2.0 and not a Trajan pairing, right? I don't think we're looking at the new Trajan pairing. I think we're looking at the Trajan 2.0. And if you just get a look at Canyon, right? So I'm in this KVK. This is arguably like, in my opinion, a top 5 KVK for the year. It's going to be insane. You've got some of the best A seeds matched into some of the top Imperium kingdoms, which is kind of nuts. So this is certainly like a top 10 KVK. I think it's pretty safe to say it's a top 5 KVK. Point I'm making is if you go to Lost Canyon, looks like I got bumped while I was sleeping, which, is what it is. But like, where's Trajan? Well, Trajan is actually everywhere. So the top players in the game, right? Like Wildline and Mr. Hope are here. Baba is here. Like Fluffy Pony's here. Like and there's a ton of these big names. I'm going to feel bad. People are going to be offended I left them out. But like the point I'm trying to make is like everybody's using a leadership march at the top end, quite literally, in Canyon. And has done something. Oh, except this guy. Bulky, good for you. You did it without leadership. Hard to believe. I don't know if you can defend it, but there you are. Other than the Red Hulk over there, all right, everybody is using Trajan in Canyon because it's good. Except for Arvex. Interesting. Good for you, Arvex. Almost everybody is using Trajan. Even Cortex, the ultimate leadership denier, is using Trajan. Holy smokes. Smash is here? Bro, I used to play with him. I'm like 99% sure this is the dude I used to play with, but I don't actually know. That's crazy. BT Cyborg is here. BT Cyborg's not using leadership. Ooh. And he's also not using the new archers as the substitute either. That's so interesting. Anyways, fascinating. Almost everyone is using leadership. So either all these people have got the meta wrong and built leadership gear for, I don't know. Anyways, garrisoning, I guess. But yeah, I think it is very clear that like leadership has always had a role, particularly for defending a city for mixed troops, but now even in the open field. And if we go back to this commander's skills real quick, it's so weird that Philip is a leadership commander that doesn't require you to have mixed troops, right? The active skill doesn't require it. The next skill lets you use whatever troop type you want. And over here, if you have 2 troop types, okay, you get march speed and take less damage. You get tanky and speedy. And if you have 1 troop type, you just deal more damage. So like you don't need the mixed troops. I don't know that I would use mixed troops. And I don't think he's designed to be a garrison either or a rally. I don't think. And I guess here's the thing. His active skill is buffing a bunch of nearby stuff. Like typically that's not what you want to see. You want like everything allocated to smashing your enemy that's directly in front of you. That's not what this does, right? This buffs the team. It does buff your own march, but it's about buffing the team. And I like it. I don't think that's a rally garrison situation, right? But whenever this commander's troop uses their active skill, whenever this commander uses their active skill, they have a 40% chance to use their active skill a second time. And whenever the other commander in their troop uses their active skill, they have a 20% chance to use their active skill a second time. So like the way this could work if you use them as the secondary is there's like a 1 in 5 chance, which is pretty gosh darn frequent, that you get an active skill activation of your primary before you have this guy go. But I just really think you want to use him as the primary. GG's. This is pretty exciting. I think this is a very healthy direction for the game design to go in. I also think, a leadership garrison would have been pretty cool. But I think leadership garrisons are more supposed to be for your city, I would think, than for defending flags, it feels like. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Are you excited about this? What do you think of this new commander? I think he looks pretty legit. Not gonna lie. Let me know your thoughts on pairings and combos. I did promise you talents, so let's just talk about that really briefly. So here's the talents I'm using on my Trajan, and this is gonna be an interesting one. So we've got the exact same talent tree, okay? It's the same talent trees on the new Commander Philip. And the thing you're looking for, since we're reusing active skills, is stuff like Rejuvenate, okay? Which is magically selected by exactly 69% of governors. Incredible how you do this, governors. Anyways, 69% of governors have gone for Rejuvenate. 2 points is really kind of all you need to max out your rage gain per turn. That's a complex topic. There's a limit to the amount of rage you can gain per turn. 2 points is enough. So if you're using the mixed troops, like armed to the teeth and armored to the teeth, is amazing. That is straight up amazing. Those are both very, very, very good. Okay. Can recommend those two very highly. But I don't know that mixed troops is actually the way to go here. So I think you might be looking at a slightly different build. So if we go over here, one option would be to go all the way over and take Cage of Thorns. That's a choice. You'd put these points, armed to the teeth and armored to the teeth, back in over here. This is a tanky Rejuve build, huh? I would let me reset this. Let's rename this. We'll call it Philip. Do you have 2 L's? I think he had 2 L's, but whatever. So I want 2 points over there. I want the emergency protection. I absolutely want strategic prowess. This has amazing synergy with using your active skills all over again. Whenever this commander's troop uses an active skill, they gain 20% defense for 2 seconds. It's very, very, very powerful. Okay. And I do want to like boost my normal attack damage. I do want to have more troops in my army. That like seems good. What do we have over here? If you have less than 50% of units remaining, you gain 3% attack. It's a lot of attack boost. I don't know that that really is good enough, but 12% attack just kind of might be what you need to do here. And like this top talent, if you're leading a rally attack, it is really funny that this talent exists. Like, I don't think this guy's supposed to be the new rally leader, right? But like, why do we have a talent tree where that's an option, but no leadership rallies? I'm actually asking. Why? Is he supposed to wait? I mean, we'll have to test. Is he good in a rally? If he's good in a rally, that would be absolutely insane. If we got a leadership rally, bro, I just sort of assumed that was not a thing we were getting. But what if it was? What if it actually was? I mean, could that be? That could be. Yeah, that could be. Holy smokes. That could be insane, couldn't it? Like you use Scipio? Like, why not? What? Actually asking, why not? Could that work? I just woke up. My brain's not working right. Could that actually be the thing? I don't love the extra point in here. Not doing much. Maybe the 0.5% of attack is where it's at. Maybe the health, actually. You get health over here, right? Can't you get health? Yeah, maybe the 0.5% of health is the way to go. That's probably what I would do instead of 3 points into Rejuvenate, because I just don't think that's doing very much for you. But that's kind of nuts. So if we talk about putting him in a situation where we're rallying, I mean, just hypothetically, I really don't think that's where it's at, right? But he's going to buff his damage taken and damage dealt very meaningfully, okay? He's going to give you some stats. If you mono troop, you're dealing 30% more damage, so that's definitely the way to run that. You have a way to get some AoE damage in, which is fine. You reduce the rage, you use the skills all over again. Why not pair with Scipio? Right? Why not? You would do big damage factor. You make the target take more damage. Infantry get health, right? You deal more normal damage. Yeah, I mean, wouldn't that work? That couldn't possibly be a thing. I mean, the real issue is you need the leadership gear. But like, oh my God. What a reward for leadership gear players if this is actually a rally that works. Am I wrong? Because he would need to be the primary. There's no way that you'd run him as the secondary, right? Right? Oh my God. Hey, yo, chat. I mean, this is a first impressions video, but he needs to be the primary. He needs to be the primary to silence. Aha. They baked in an answer. You wouldn't want to use him as the primary. Or he needs to be primary. The other guy, yeah, whatever. You know what I'm saying. Okay. They can't both be primary. Gosh darn it. Wait, whenever the current target of this commander's troop uses an active skill. Oh, okay. You gain rage faster. That seems pretty good. Wow. I mean, who knows, chat? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. This commander's not a rally commander, is he? The new guy? No, ain't no way, right? And just revisiting this Liu Che pairing, like, why not, right? You hit 5 targets, defense. You could run only infantry. Why not, right? Holy smokes. When you're attacking another troop on the map, you do wicked things. Yeah, no, all of it seems good. Ooh, okay, whatever. Throw a like on the video. Consider subscribing. Apparently my alliance is joking Mulan meta again. Oh boy. Yeah, it's a brave new world. And if you want to see more information about this KVK that I'm in, which is pretty insane, I'll have cards in the end screen. When I entered the KVK and my initial hype about who's on this map, because it's just going to be a crazy one, man. And it's a new Viking KVK. Like, really nuts. So check these cards out. Until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies. Take care, everybody.